Hi, my name is Clymene A, and this is the Trans Truth. Welcome back to my transmission. And I want to preface this video with just a quick little aside. So basically what is going down is this is my interview. I thought that it was only fair that if I was going to be subjecting these people to sharing their stories with the world, that I do the same. So you're going to learn a little bit about me as well.
So, what kind of household were you raised in? How would you describe the overall vibe of your upbringing?
So that's an interesting question because my upbringing was almost very there was such a strange dichotomy in my upbringing between like whimsicality and stern militarism. It's very strange, but I not by my mom, but my mom was kind of the more, the one to allow the whimsy and the fun. And I had, not that I didn't have fun with my dad, because we did to a degree, but he just had a lot more of a switch. Like he would just suddenly be upset about something with me, and that was kind of just the normal. Um, and I was usually blamed for a lot, which pretty much turned into me like acting out as a kid.
You were forced into a lot of gender roles as a child by him, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, by my dad for sure. He was definitely one of the more like toxically masculine types, especially to try to literally beat being a man into your head. Um, just as a warning, a trigger warning, these talks may get a little intense. For those watching, this is kind of stuff that me and my friends just trauma dump to each other, so it just comes off as so very normal. But I forget that not everyone has these upbringings, and that's exactly why this is a question on the interview, because I want to show that trans people can come from so many different upbringings. So back to the the point of the question. Yeah, gender roles were certainly very enforced around him, around my mom. She worked a lot, so she didn't really like care as much. Not that she didn't care, just that she wasn't around as much to like pay attention. But like if like my dad saw me playing with like something that my sister was playing with, yeah, that was like not cool. He would not be happy with that. So stuff like that, and like yeah, really just from that end, mostly the men on my family, they were all kind of just like that, just toxically masculine.
So, did that in any way give you a sense of dysphoria as a child, being forced into these masculine roles?
I think it did in a bit of a way, because I just wanted to play with my sister, and I didn't understand like what made that wrong. Like, why was it wrong for me to want to play what she's playing? How come I have to play with these toys when I want to play with these ones with her? She's doing like stories and stuff with her Barbies, and like I was just interested in doing that because I'm always interested in building stories. So and we had always watched like our Mima and our mom like watch the crazy soap operas that they've watched and stuff. So like it kind of plays off into that. Like I feel like a lot of people played with dolls in that way. Like they would kind of emulate like soap operas that they'd seen as kids, as we were all probably subjected to daytime television.
So, how did school affect you?
Uh, School was interesting because, really, you didn't really start to learn about like the big differences between the gender roles or whatever until like maybe like third or fourth grade, when people started like teasing other people about being like girly. That's where people like started to care, it seemed. um and before that, yeah, everyone's just kind of kids, which is exactly why, I really think bigotry is taught. No one's born with bigotry, because before that, we were all just being kids playing together no matter what. Kids shouldn't be forced into any specific box. They should just be free to experiment with who they want to be, is exactly my point.
Was there a defining moment that sort of hit you with the, oh, I be trans thought?
um,
Realization, I should say.
uh, yeah, in a way. So there are two, I think, that kind of come to mind. And one that I always think of is watching some more daytime television, because that was just a big part of poor kids' lives. After school, you went home and you did your homework and you watched daytime television because your parents probably weren't home. They were probably working. And
Such a mood.
yeah, so Maury had these episodes where they would bring on these kids who said they were like, they felt like they were, and sometimes these adults who felt like they were like born in the wrong body, and then they'd tell their whole story. And I I remember just watching that and just kind of just looking at it and being like, huh. Like, obviously as a kid you don't necessarily understand to that degree yet, but still something resonated with me even at that age. And I think that's very powerful, and that's why I'm trying to do the same in a way, but telling our stories from us. And the second, this is something I haven't told a lot of people about. I had, so like in high school, it kind of like hit me, and I buried it deep down, but it hit me nonetheless. Like, I had this, because I daydream a lot, and I have like these, not like visions, but they're like, I just daydream stories. It's a big way that I've came up with a lot of stories for my movies, and a big way that I continue to come up with stuff today. And it's just sometimes a way to pass the time. Sometimes I'm just bored and I'll just escape to a world in my head in an instant, and it's kind of freeing. And that was something I struggled a lot with in school too, because teachers just thought I was stupid and I was spacing out, and really I was just not interested in what they were giving, and I was just escaping to a more interesting space. So it was in high school. I was at the bus stop specifically. I was listening to MSI, and I think it was senior year, so it was probably about like 17 or 18 at the time. And it just, I had this daydream of me performing, because we had a talent show coming up, and I was just daydreaming performing a very inappropriate song for the talent show, Sex Machine, or Fuck Machine. We're gonna have to bleep that. So, like, something that would never get approved, ever, absolutely, because you have to audition for the talent show and they have to know what song you're singing.
I think we all had that moment at some point.
So, I basically, I had this daydream of me performing that in, like, a really, like, 80s, like, school punk rock, like plaid skirt, like tie, like School of Rock, basically fucking
Very Avril Lavigne.
yeah, kind of, but with a little bit more edge. Because I was already a little bit of a punk brat at that time. Because I kind of took my queer thoughts and I pushed them down with punkness, despite how counteractive that was. But anyways, it worked out for the best.
Okay.
Through punk, I became more gay, and that's a good thing.
God, if that isn't the realest thing I've ever heard in my life. So, besides the
Hold on, sorry. Let me finish. So like the big thing that I gained from that vision of me performing that song, and I was just like, in that moment I was so powerful and I just felt like so confident and sexy and everything, and I just felt like everything I didn't feel at the time, because like I still, was totally in boy mode, like just the worst facial hair you'd ever seen. But I just felt so powerful every time I thought of being in that place. And I just thought of, and that thought just stuck with me all these years and it never left. And, it took long enough, but at 27, I finally accepted it. At 26, actually, I'll say.
it took 10 years.
Almost, yeah.
I'd ask what challenges you faced then, but you internalized so much that were there any to face before you even faced yourself?
Oh, certainly. I mean, and that was kind of a big part of it, was facing myself and having to face myself, and not to be a total weeb, but like Persona really helped me with that. Because after I played Persona, um, when I was probably like 16 or 17, that kind of got the wheels turning on the whole aspect of really facing yourself and digging deep to see, who your true self is. And, you know, it took a little while, but I did eventually accept that. And I think a big part of accepting that came in just gradually wearing more feminine clothes, and then kind of just working up the courage to be like, yeah, you know what, this is just who I am. I feel more comfortable dressing this way, looking this way, being, pretty, one would say. Yeah, it was too hard to deny at that point, especially because I felt that I looked better in feminine clothes and it just made me feel more confident. So I did face, I mean, certainly the challenges of having to accept that. I mean, it took me about, like you said, 10 years almost. And a lot of that was really just the societal pressure of not knowing whether or not how things would go. And I would say so far, I actually have had an amazing transition, and, everyone's been awesome. I haven't really had anyone be deliberately transphobic, like, to my face. Plenty of people on the internet always are, but I think that's what they don't realize, is that most normal people, when they see trans people, they don't they may not even think anything. They might just see a person, then that's what they should see. More so than like a walking sign of put your hatred here.
Well, it's the main character effect. Most people don't notice these things. Like, you'll remember something you said like 15 years ago and still be embarrassed about it. Nobody from 15 years ago remembered that you said anything. They probably don't even remember who you are if you're not still talking, frankly.
Yeah.
So what was the biggest moment of gender euphoria you've felt since accepting and becoming, so to speak?
I think it was I don't know, there were a few, because for sure one was just like when I started putting on actual makeup for the first time. It really started to like click, and not to say that, you know, if you wear makeup, you're trans, but like, it just,
For you.
yeah, for me, that's how it was. You know, it was kind of my way of self-discovery and rediscovering, or even discovering for the first time ever, what I liked.
Yeah, the glitz, the glamour, the glitter. So, luckily, having not experienced transphobia in person, how do you feel about the current wave of legislation trying to come in or coming in about transphobia in general? How do you feel about seeing that on the news 24/7?
uh
How's Twitter treating you?
yeah, obviously
How's the blue bird?
not great, which is why I started this channel. Because things aren't great right now. A lot of people are just spreading rampant hatred just completely openly, and it's honestly just disgusting. Especially when, you know, there's history going back as far as our history is recorded of trans people existing in many different cultures. And that's something else that I hope to educate people on in this channel.
What, if you could speak directly to some of these politicians, what would you say?
Honestly, if any of you are watching right now, just stop. I don't understand why it's so hard for you to just let people live, especially when you're supposedly the party of small government, yet you want to mandate how your citizens live. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that any of you should have power, and I think that your power has corrupted you absolutely. And I will do everything I can to make sure that people know that you are lying.
So, what would you say to the people in politics who are in our corner? Besides, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, obviously, and we see you. I know that politics is hard, especially when you have, you know, so many, not to throw the word around, but toxic colleagues who, you know, get away with some questionable things, especially during and in the halls of session. As you learn here, I may not have felt the heaviest of dysphoria as a child, but that is also because I really didn't know what dysphoria was. And that's kind of the importance of education and educating kids on, you know, trans issues and people, because, you know, it may help a child understand themselves better and understand why they don't feel like they quite fit in, and
Give them the words.
exactly,
And the
and give them
language.
the words to describe what they're feeling. And that so often is something that society doesn't want to give kids, because that is a power, and society wants kids to stay powerless
In any regard.
yeah,
There
really.
are so many areas of life where kids are not given the ability to articulate how they feel and how they think.
Yeah, I mean, I faced a lot of abuse as a child, and you know, nothing really
Nobody
happened to
tells
anyone.
you how to say
yeah, no one
that.
tells you how to talk about it. All these things need to be talked about because kids face these realities, and that's why kids need to be educated on them so that they know what is happening. We need to think of kids more as people and not as just these little amalgamations that we can raise into whatever we want, because they're not. Your kid is going to become who they are, no matter. Your kid is going to become who they are in spite of you.
That's so real,
It
though.
is. No matter what you do, your child is going to become themselves in spite of you. Just remember that. If you're watching this and you have a trans kid and you are trying to understand them, just talk and listen to them.
Ask
That's it.
questions.
Ask questions. Don't badger them, but don't don't just write it off either as a phase, or is because you may wake up one day with a 20-something-year-old kid that doesn't talk to you.
Yeah. And in some cases, that is completely deserved.
Yeah.
Really.
And I'm not saying that, a parent who has done wrong can't change. They absolutely can, and you can make amends. If you have done wrong by your trans child, just make up for it with real emotion, with real humanity. Why is it so hard for you to do that for your own child?
Man, some people are going to have a hard look in the mirror after this. Dear God.
I hope so.
So, what do you hope to manifest in your future, and what do you hope for the world's future? I mean, in general, and in terms of all of this.
Honestly, I just want to affect positive change in our country. I have just sat by too long and wondered what could I do, and I finally just decided to do something and to use my skills as a video editor and a writer and a speaker to just allow us to tell our stories. And I say that over and over again because it's very important, because the people who are telling stories about us right now are not us. They are people who don't know us. They are people who don't talk to us, who don't listen to us. So why would you listen to them when they talk about us? Honestly, I just want to help my community and hopefully do some good. And in the future, I just want to see less bigotry. I feel like that's not that hard to ask for. I hope you stick by. And I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about me. I know I may not have given the most insight, but I don't want to talk too much about myself. I just kind of want to give you guys a brief little interview about me, so you can get to know me. This has been The Trans Truth.
And transmission.
And transmission.